A CEO took a fake date to shame his ex, but ended up falling in love instead. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get started. The limo ride was long and silent. Lily sat across from Ryan, the tension thick between them. The city lights reflected off the tinted windows, casting soft glows on their faces. Lily couldn't help but feel out of place. This was a world she'd never imagined stepping into, but now, here she was, sitting next to one of the most powerful men in New York City. Ryan, on the other hand, seemed lost in his thoughts, staring out the window with a distant look in his eyes. He had one goal in mind, to make Kate, his ex-fiancée, jealous. But as the evening went on, he found himself thinking more and more about Lily. There was something about her, something real and raw that he hadn't seen in a long time. He couldn't deny it, his plan was shifting. He wasn't just using her to get back at Kate. No, it was something deeper, something he hadn't expected. As they arrived at his penthouse, Ryan turned to her. "You did great tonight," he said, his voice softer than before. Lily looked up at him, surprised by the sincerity in his tone. "Thanks," she replied, her voice hesitant. "It was definitely an experience." Ryan gave a small chuckle, but there was a warmth behind it. He stepped out of the limo first, offering her a hand to help her out. Lily took it, still unsure of what was happening between them. They walked into his penthouse, where the lights were dimmed low, creating an intimate atmosphere. Ryan led her to the living room and gestured for her to sit. "Can I get you something to drink?" he asked, moving toward the bar. "Water would be fine," she said, her voice still a bit shaky. She took a seat on the plush sofa, trying to calm her nerves. The evening had been overwhelming, so many new faces, so many eyes on her. And now, in the privacy of his home, it felt like everything was changing again. Ryan returned with a glass of water for her and a whiskey for himself. He sat down beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "I know this isn't exactly what you expected," he said, his voice low, "but I appreciate you going along with it. You helped me more than you know." Lily looked at him, searching his face for any sign of dishonesty. "I'm just doing my job," she replied. "You're paying me to be here. It's not like I'm doing this for free." Ryan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Still," he said, "I never expected it to be so easy. You're different from anyone I've ever met." Lily raised an eyebrow, unsure of how to respond. "Different how?" she asked. "You don't care about the money, the status, or the power." "You're just you," Ryan said, his gaze meeting hers. "Most people in my life only want something from me. But with you, it's not like that." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't used to hearing such honesty from someone like him, especially not a man like Ryan. But something in his words resonated with her. It was the first time in a long while that she felt seen, truly seen. "I'm just trying to make it," she said quietly. "I don't care about the fancy stuff. I just need enough to get by." Ryan stared at her for a moment, as if weighing his next words carefully. "And what if you didn't have to worry about that anymore?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily turned to him, confused. "What do you mean?" Ryan leaned forward slightly, his tone serious. "What if I could help you? Get you out of this struggle?" Lily shook her head, not sure if she was hearing him right. "You're offering me a job?" she asked. "No, it's more than that," Ryan replied. "I'm offering you an opportunity to be part of something bigger, to be seen for who you really are, not just the girl in a pretty dress at a gala." His words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Lily swallowed hard. This wasn't what she had expected. She was just here for a paycheck to help him make Kate jealous. But now, he was offering her something she couldn't quite wrap her head around. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm just a waitress. What can I really offer?" Ryan's expression softened. "You'd be surprised," he said quietly. "You've already given me more than anyone else has in a long time." Lily didn't know how to respond. This wasn't the conversation she'd been expecting, but it was the one she needed. As the evening wore on, they talked, not about business or the gala, but about their lives. Ryan shared a little about his past, how he built his company from the ground up, how his family had always expected more from him than he could give. And Lily shared her struggles working late hours, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to hold on to a dream that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. By the time the night ended, something had shifted between them. Ryan was no longer just the CEO. He was a man who had been hurt, who had lost his way. And Lily was no longer just the girl hired for one night. She was someone who understood him, who saw the person behind the power. As Lily left the penthouse that night, her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She didn't know what was going to happen next, but one thing was clear: this wasn't just a job anymore. She was no longer a pawn in his game of revenge. Something real was starting to bloom between them, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. The next few days were a blur for Lily. She couldn't stop thinking about what Ryan had said to her in his penthouse. The more she tried to shake it off, the more his words echoed in her mind. Asterisk. What if I could help you, get you out of this struggle? Asterisk. She had never thought about it like that before, someone actually offering her a way out, a chance at something more. The truth was, she had always felt stuck. The weight of her life, the constant struggle to make ends meet, it had worn her down. And now here was Ryan, a man who had everything, offering her a way into a world she never thought she'd belong to. But there was a catch: she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. She had spent so long fighting for herself, doing things on her own. She wasn't sure how to accept help, let alone from someone like him. The next time they met, it was at another gala. Ryan had insisted she come as his date once again, only this time, there was something different in the air. As they arrived, Lily noticed the way people looked at her. It wasn't the usual curiosity or dismissive glance she had grown used to at these events. No, this time it was different. People actually noticed her, and she wasn't just another face in the crowd. Ryan was at her side, as confident as ever, but Lily could sense something more between them. It was subtle, but she could feel it. He was treating her differently. They didn't just attend the event together. Ryan introduced her to several key people in his business circle, and for the first time, Lily felt like she was truly being seen. As the night went on, they spent more time together, talking and laughing in a way that felt completely natural. She could see the way Ryan looked at her when they shared a private conversation, his eyes softer, his smile warmer. It wasn't like the first time they'd met, when she was just a pawn in his game. No, this time she was more. And it wasn't just the attention from other people, it was him, Ryan, who was making her feel special. By the end of the night, they were sitting on the balcony of the penthouse once again, the city lights twinkling below them. Ryan leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Lily sat beside him, her mind racing. She wasn't sure what this was between them, but it was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Asterisk, you're not like the others. Asterisk, Ryan said, breaking the silence. Lily turned to him, her heart skipping a beat. Asterisk, what do you mean? Asterisk, she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't pretend, Ryan replied. You're real. You've never tried to impress anyone. Not me, not anyone. That's rare. Asterisk, Lily swallowed hard. She wasn't used to being complimented like that, not in the way Ryan had just done. Asterisk, I don't know how to act around people like this. Asterisk, she admitted, her voice shaky. Asterisk, I'm just trying to survive. I don't know what I'm doing here. Asterisk, Ryan looked at her with a soft smile. Asterisk, you're doing just fine, asterisk, he said. Asterisk, and that's what I like about you. You don't need to try, you just times are asterisk. Asterisk, Lily felt her chest tighten. She had never felt this way before, like someone actually understood her. It was both overwhelming and comforting at the same time. She wasn't sure where this was going, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like she had a place in this world. The next day, Ryan called her again, but this time, it wasn't about a gala or a social event. He wanted her to meet him at his office. Lily was nervous as she entered the building, the sleek, modern architecture intimidating her. She had never been in a place like this, surrounded by so much wealth and power. But Ryan greeted her with a warm smile, like she was the most important person in the room. Asterisk, I've been thinking. Asterisk, he said, as they sat down in his office. Asterisk, you're more than just a date to me. I know this started as a business arrangement, but it's become something else. I don't want you to just be my arm candy for events. I want you to be a part of my life. Asterisk, Lily's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected this. Not now, not ever. She was just a girl from Brooklyn, a waitress trying to make ends meet. And here was this powerful man, asking her to be part of his world. But she wasn't sure if she could take the leap. Asterisk, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Asterisk, she said, her voice trembling. Asterisk. I don't know if I can fit into your world. Asterisk. Ryan reached across the table, his hand gently resting on hers. Asterisk. You don't have to fit into my world. Asterisk, he said. Asterisk. You just have to be yourself. And I promise you, that's enough. Asterisk. Lily's heart raced. She wasn't sure what to say, but one thing was clear: this wasn't just a business arrangement anymore. It was real. And so was the connection between them. But could she really let go of her doubts and take the chance? The days that followed felt like a whirlwind for Lily. Ryan had been different, warmer, kinder, and he wasn't pretending anymore. He treated her with respect, with a tenderness she hadn't expected from someone so powerful. And yet, despite all the changes, Lily still couldn't shake her doubts. She wasn't sure if she was ready for the life he was offering her, the life she never thought she'd belong to. But as the weeks passed, she began to feel more at ease with him, like maybe she could make a place for herself in this new world. The turning point came one evening when Ryan invited her to a charity event he was hosting. It was a big deal, the kind of event where the city's most influential people gathered. Lily had been to a few of these before, but never as the guest of honor. She spent hours getting ready, carefully picking out a dress, her hair styled just right. She looked in the mirror, a mix of excitement and anxiety stirring in her chest. This wasn't just a party, it was a chance to prove to herself that she could belong here, in this world of wealth and prestige. As she walked into the venue with Ryan by her side, she felt a wave of insecurity. The glittering chandeliers, the laughter, the clinking of glasses, it all seemed so out of place for someone like her. But Ryan's presence was grounding. He walked beside her with ease, his hand lightly resting on her back as he introduced her to the crowd. "This is Lily," he said, his voice filled with pride. "She's been an incredible part of my life, and I'm honored to have her by my side tonight." The way he said it so confidently made her heart flutter. She wasn't just his date for the night. She was someone he valued. They spent the evening mingling, talking to people from all walks of life. And slowly, Lily began to feel like she was more than just an outsider. People actually listened to her, asked about her life. And for the first time, she didn't feel invisible. Ryan made sure she was comfortable, guiding her through the social maze. But there was something more in his gaze. As the night went on, Lily realized she had stopped pretending. She wasn't just playing a role anymore. She was becoming part of something real, something she hadn't allowed herself to believe in for so long. The night ended with a grand toast, and as the crowd raised their glasses, Ryan turned to her, his hand slipping into hers. "You're amazing, you know that?" he said quietly, his voice just for her. Lily looked up at him, her heart racing. "I don't know what I'm doing here," she confessed. "I'm just trying to keep up." Ryan smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't need to keep up," he said softly. "You're already here. That's all that matters." The words settled into her heart, and for the first time in a long while, Lily allowed herself to believe them. She had been so afraid of being left behind, of not fitting in, but Ryan had shown her that she didn't need to prove anything. She was enough. Later that night, as they returned to his penthouse, Lily felt a mix of emotions. She had started to fall for him, truly fall for him. The thought scared her more than anything. She had always guarded her heart, never letting anyone in, especially not someone like Ryan. But something in him had broken down her walls, slowly and gently. She couldn't deny the connection between them anymore. They were sitting on the balcony once again, the cool breeze of the night wrapping around them. The city was a sea of lights below them, and for a moment, the noise and chaos of the world outside seemed to fade away. Ryan turned to her, his expression serious. "Lily, I've been thinking a lot about us," he said, his voice low. "This started as a game, something to get back at my ex, but it's become something I didn't expect. I don't want this to be just a fling. I want you in my life for real." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had heard him say things like this before, but there was a sincerity in his eyes that made her heart race. "Ryan," she whispered, unsure of what to say. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I've never let anyone in like this before. I don't know if I can." Ryan took her hand, holding it gently in his. "You don't have to be scared," he said, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "I'm not going anywhere." For the first time in her life, Lily believed him. She leaned into him, letting her guard down, and he kissed her gently, a kiss that spoke of promises and new beginnings. In that moment, she realized that she was no longer the girl who had walked into his life as a way to get back at his ex. She was someone who was worth more than just being a pawn in a game. She was his equal, and together, they could build something real. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Lily felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Days passed, and things between Lily and Ryan grew even more complicated. What started as a business arrangement, a way to get back at his ex, had turned into something neither of them had expected. Lily was no longer just a date on his arm at social events, she was part of his life now, someone he thought about when he woke up and before he went to sleep. They spent more time together, and as they did, their connection deepened. Lily, who had always been so cautious with her heart, found herself falling for him in a way she didn't want to admit. But Ryan wasn't just any man. He was a CEO, a powerful, wealthy man with the kind of life she had never imagined for herself. She told herself to be careful, that this wasn't real, that he would eventually go back to his old ways and leave her behind, just like she had always feared. But every time they shared a quiet moment, every time he made her feel like she mattered, those doubts started to fade. One afternoon, Ryan asked Lily to join him on a trip to his family's estate in the Hamptons. It was a weekend getaway, and he had arranged everything to be perfect: private beach access, fine dining, and endless time together to escape the pressures of their daily lives. Lily was nervous at first, unsure of what this meant for them, but she agreed. It wasn't just the trip that made her nervous. It was the fact that she had never been so close to someone who lived in this world, someone whose life seemed so far removed from hers. They arrived at the estate on a Saturday morning, the sky a brilliant blue, and the air was fresh with the scent of the ocean. The estate was massive, sprawling across acres of lush greenery, with a grand house that looked like something out of a movie. Ryan's family wasn't there. He'd told her it would be just the two of them, a chance to unwind and be themselves. As they walked around the estate, Ryan took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. Lily felt the warmth of his touch, and for a moment, all her worries seemed to disappear. They spent the day by the water, walking along the beach, laughing and talking about anything and everything. It felt easy, effortless. In the evening, as the sun set over the horizon, they sat down for dinner on the terrace. The table was set beautifully, with candles flickering in the soft evening breeze. Ryan poured them both a glass of wine, his gaze never leaving hers. "Lily," he began, his voice serious, "I know I've said some things before, but I need you to understand something. I've never felt this way about anyone before, and I don't want this to be just a fling. I want more. I want you in my life, for real. I've been fighting this, trying to push it away, but I can't anymore." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure how to respond. She had heard him say things like this before, but there was something different about the way he said it now. His words were filled with sincerity, and for the first time, Lily didn't feel like she had to protect herself. She didn't feel like he was just saying things to get what he wanted. This was real. "Ryan," she started, but her words caught in her throat. She wasn't sure if she could say it out loud, but she knew deep down that she felt the same way. She had fallen for him, more than she ever thought possible. She had always kept her distance, afraid of getting hurt, but with him, everything felt right. "I'm scared," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've never let anyone in before, and now I don't know what to do." Ryan reached across the table, his hand gently cupping hers. "You don't have to be scared," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere. I want you, Lily, all of you. No games, no pretending, just us, together." Lily's breath caught in her chest, and for the first time, she let go of her fear. She leaned forward, her heart pounding in her chest, and kissed him. The kiss was soft at first, but as the seconds passed, it deepened, and the world around them seemed to disappear. In that moment, Lily knew that this wasn't just a game anymore. This was real. Ryan wasn't just a wealthy CEO. He was the man she had come to care for, the man who had shown her a love she never thought she'd find. And for the first time in her life, Lily allowed herself to believe in it. As they pulled away, Ryan looked into her eyes, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I'm glad you came," he said quietly. "This is just the beginning, Lily. I want to build something real with you." Lily smiled, her heart full. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing: she was ready for it. Together, they would figure it out. And for the first time, she believed in the possibility of a happy ending. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of blissful moments and quiet realizations for both Lily and Ryan. Their connection, once uncertain and awkward, had transformed into something deep, genuine, and real. The more time they spent together, the more they realized that their relationship was not just a product of circumstances or convenience. It was something they both had come to cherish. For Lily, the world she had stepped into with Ryan, one filled with wealth, prestige, and endless opportunities, had begun to feel like home. She wasn't just an outsider anymore. She was a part of his life, in a way she never imagined possible. Ryan, on the other hand, had become more than just a powerful CEO. He had opened up to her in ways he hadn't with anyone else, revealing parts of himself he had long kept hidden. He trusted her, and that trust was the foundation they were building their relationship on. They had learned to lean on each other, to support each other, and it felt like everything was finally falling into place. But life, as it often does, had its way of testing them. Ryan's ex-fiancée, Kate, wasn't going to just let go. She had noticed the changes in him, the way he had begun to shift his attention to someone else, and she wasn't ready to let him go without a fight. It started with small gestures, late-night texts, unexpected visits to his office, and sly remarks in front of others. At first, Ryan didn't take them seriously. He had made it clear to Kate that their relationship was over, that she was part of his past. But Kate wasn't backing down. One afternoon, Ryan and Lily were at a coffee shop, enjoying a quiet moment together when Kate walked in, her eyes scanning the room until they locked on to Ryan. Her face tightened as she approached their table. "Ryan," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, "I didn't know you were here." Ryan stiffened slightly, but he didn't rise to the bait. "Kate," he said, his voice calm, "this is Lily, my girlfriend." The words came out easy, as if they had been said 1,000 times. Lily looked up at Kate, trying her best to remain calm despite the tension in the air. Kate's gaze lingered on Lily, sizing her up, before she turned her attention back to Ryan. "I didn't realize you had moved on so quickly," she said, her tone laced with bitterness. Ryan's jaw clenched, but he didn't respond. He had no intention of rehashing the past with Kate, not in front of Lily. Kate, sensing the moment was slipping away, leaned in slightly. "I hope you're not making a mistake," she said, her voice low. "You're letting something real slip away for someone who doesn't even belong in your world." The words stung, but Ryan didn't flinch. He looked at Lily, offering her a reassuring smile, before turning his attention back to Kate. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," he said quietly. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we're having a conversation." Kate stood there for a moment longer, her gaze flickering between the two of them before she turned and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. The moment she was gone, Lily let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Ryan reached across the table, taking her hand gently in his. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," he said, his voice sincere. "I've told her time and time again, but she doesn't seem to understand." Lily shook her head, squeezing his hand. "It's okay," she said softly. "I'm not going anywhere. I trust you, Ryan." He smiled, his eyes softening. "Good," he said, his voice low, "because you're all I need." The rest of the afternoon passed without incident, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the last time Kate would try to interfere. It wasn't just about the past, it was about control. Kate wasn't ready to let go of Ryan, and it seemed like she would do anything to keep him in her life. But Lily was determined not to let that come between them. She had worked too hard to find her place in this world, and she wasn't going to let anyone, least of all Kate, tear that down. As they walked out of the coffee shop, Ryan pulled her close, his arm around her shoulders. "I know it's not easy," he said softly. "But I'm with you, Lily. Always." She looked up at him, her heart swelling with emotion. "I know," she said, her voice thick with affection. "And I'm with you." It wasn't just the two of them against the world anymore. It was them, together, strong and united, ready to face whatever came their way. As they made their way down the street, hand in hand, Lily realized that this was exactly where she was meant to be, by his side, facing the future together, no matter what obstacles they might encounter along the way. The next few weeks brought a new level of tension between Lily and Ryan. Kate, Ryan's ex-fiancée, hadn't given up. Despite his firm declarations that their relationship was over, Kate had begun making more frequent, more insistent attempts to re-enter his life. Her presence loomed over them in subtle ways, and it was beginning to take its toll. Lily, for the first time in a long while, felt insecure. She trusted Ryan, but the constant shadow of his past relationship with Kate was hard to ignore. One evening, as Lily and Ryan were enjoying a quiet dinner at his apartment, Ryan's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, his expression unreadable. "It's Kate," he said quietly, as if offering an apology in advance. Lily tensed, her grip on her wine glass tightening. "What does she want now?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's been pushing me to meet, to talk. She's still not ready to accept that it's over," he said, a trace of frustration in his voice. "I've told her everything I can, but she doesn't listen. It's complicated." Lily took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. She had known from the start that Ryan's past wouldn't be easy to escape, but now it felt like Kate was trying to push her out of the picture. "Ryan," she said softly, setting her glass down, "I know you care about me, but I'm starting to feel like she's going to keep coming between us. I don't want to feel like a second choice." Ryan's eyes softened as he reached across the table to take her hand. "Lily, you are not a second choice," he said earnestly. "You are everything to me. I know I haven't handled this the best, and I should have made it clearer from the start, but I'm not going to let her or anything else come between us. You're the one I want." Lily looked at him, her heart racing. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, but she was still scared. Scared that Kate would never let go. Scared that the life she had finally started to build with Ryan would fall apart. "I don't want to lose you, Ryan," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't want to fight for you if she's still around, constantly trying to get back into your life." Ryan squeezed her hand, standing up and walking around the table to stand next to her. He gently cupped her face in his hands, his touch warm and reassuring. "You're not going to lose me," he said firmly. "I've made my decision. Kate is a part of my past, and I'm done with that chapter. I'm here with you, and I won't let her or anything else make you feel like you're not enough." The intensity in his voice sent a wave of relief through Lily, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to believe him fully. "I just need you to show me," she said softly. "I need to know you mean it, because I can't keep going through this uncertainty." Ryan nodded, his expression determined. "I'll show you, Lily. Every day I'll prove it to you. You're everything I need, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way of what we have." The weight of the moment hung in the air between them, and for the first time in a long while, Lily felt at peace. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Ryan by her side, she believed they could face anything. Over the next few days, Ryan took steps to make things right. He cut off all communication with Kate, making it clear that there was no turning back for them. Ryan's actions spoke louder than words, and as Lily saw him make those changes, her confidence in him grew. She began to feel more secure in their relationship, trusting him fully. They spent more time together, enjoying each other's company, focusing on their future instead of the past. One evening, a few weeks later, Ryan took her to the same beach in the Hamptons where they had shared that unforgettable dinner. It was a quiet night, the stars above sparkling brightly, and the sound of the waves crashing against the shore filled the air. As they walked along the beach, Ryan turned to her, his expression soft. "Lily, I've been thinking about us a lot lately," he said, his voice low. "I know we've had our struggles, but I want to take this step. I want to make this official. Will you be with me, not just for now, but for the future?" Lily's heart skipped a beat as she looked up at him, her emotions overwhelming her. "Yes," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "Yes, Ryan, I want that too." Ryan smiled, his eyes lighting up with happiness. He gently took her hand in his, and they continued walking down the beach, the future ahead of them bright and full of possibility. They had both learned to let go of their fears, to trust in each other, and to embrace the love they shared. For the first time, Lily knew that she had found her place in this world, and it was by Ryan's side. It had been a few months since Ryan and Lily had found their rhythm together, but life, as it often does, decided to throw another challenge their way. They were stronger now, more connected than ever before, but that didn't mean everything was perfect. One evening, Ryan invited Lily to a high-profile charity gala-an event that would be the talk of the town for weeks. It was exactly the kind of gathering that she had always imagined would feel out of reach, but now she was right in the middle of it. She was by Ryan's side, standing tall and confident, ready to face whatever the night brought. As they walked into the ballroom, the glitz and glamour of the event took Lily's breath away. It wasn't just the luxury of the space, but the people, the power players, the influencers, the business moguls. They all seemed to look at her as she entered with Ryan, and for a brief moment, she felt that familiar insecurity creep back in. She was no longer just the girl from Brooklyn. She had grown into a woman who was comfortable in this world. Still, there was a lingering feeling of doubt. What if they didn't accept her? What if she didn't belong? Ryan, sensing the change in her demeanor, turned to her with a reassuring smile. "You're more than enough, Lily," he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear over the murmur of voices. "You belong here with me." She smiled back, feeling the warmth of his words. They mingled with the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and making connections. Ryan was in his element, confident, poised, and ever the charmer. Lily, though still slightly out of her comfort zone, felt more at ease as the night wore on. It was clear that Ryan was proud to have her with him. He introduced her to everyone, showing her off in a way that made her feel both cherished and powerful. But as the evening progressed, things took an unexpected turn. As they made their way to the balcony for a quiet moment alone, they were greeted by a familiar face, Kate. Lily's heart sank the moment she saw her. She had hoped Kate was finally out of the picture, that she had moved on, but there she was, standing in front of them, her eyes cold and calculating. "Ryan," Kate said with a forced smile, her voice dripping with insincerity. "I didn't expect to see you here, not with your new girlfriend." Lily could feel the tension building in the air. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he didn't let the words rattle him. "Kate, this is Lily," he said, his voice calm but firm. "And she's not just my new girlfriend. She's the woman I've chosen to be with, and I'm done with this." Kate's eyes flashed with something dark resentment, maybe jealousy, or perhaps something deeper. "I see," she said, her tone shifting. "You've really moved on then, and here I thought we could still work things out. But I guess that's over now, isn't it?" Her words stung, but Ryan wasn't backing down. He placed a protective hand on Lily's arm, standing tall. "There's nothing left to work out, Kate. I'm done with the past. You need to move on, too." The silence that followed was thick. Kate's gaze shifted between them, a silent battle raging in her eyes. But Lily, feeling the weight of the moment, spoke up. "Ryan's right, Kate. He's moved on, and so have I," she said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside. "It's time for you to let go." Kate's lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment, Lily thought she might lash out. But instead, Kate turned and walked away without another word, disappearing into the crowd. Ryan exhaled a sigh of relief, looking down at Lily. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," he said quietly. "She just doesn't seem to get it." Lily shrugged, trying to brush off the tension. "It's okay," she said, her hand resting on his. "I'm not going anywhere. I trust you, Ryan." He smiled at her, his eyes softening with affection. "I know you do," he said, leaning in to kiss her forehead. "And I promise, I'll always choose you." The rest of the night passed without incident, but Lily couldn't help but reflect on the conversation. She realized that she had reached a point in her life where she no longer had to compete for love, no longer had to question whether she was enough. Ryan had proven that time and time again, showing her that she was exactly who he wanted. As they left the gala, their hands intertwined, Lily couldn't help but smile. She had come so far since that first night, unsure and unsure of herself. Now she was confident, strong, and deeply in love with the man who had chosen her. They were in this together, and nothing, not even Kate, could tear them apart. They were ready for whatever the future held, knowing that they had each other to face it. It was a few weeks after the gala, and things between Ryan and Lily had settled into a peaceful rhythm. They had come a long way from the uncertain beginnings of their relationship, and now, as they spent more time together, they realized that they had truly found something special. Ryan had kept his promise to Lily, showing her with his actions and words that he was committed to her. There was no more doubt, no more interference from Kate. They were finally free to be themselves. But as much as they had grown together, life wasn't always smooth sailing. There were still challenges to face, but they knew they would face them together. One afternoon, as they were enjoying a quiet lunch at one of their favorite spots, Ryan turned to Lily with a serious look in his eyes. "Lily," he began, his voice soft but firm, "I've been thinking a lot lately about everything, and I think it's time to take the next step." Lily looked at him, her heart skipping a beat. She had no idea what he meant, but the intensity in his voice made her listen closely. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I want to build a future with you," he said, his eyes filled with determination. "I don't want to just go through life with you by my side. I want to make sure we're building something that lasts. I've never been more sure about anything in my life than I am about you." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had always known that Ryan was different, that their connection was something unique, but hearing him say these words made her heart swell with emotion. "Ryan." She started, but she didn't know how to put the feelings into words. She had never expected to feel so sure about anything, let alone someone. Ryan smiled, gently squeezing her hand. "I know this isn't something to rush," he said, "but I want you to know that I'm in this for the long haul. I want us to be partners, not just in life but in everything. I'm asking you to be with me, forever." The words hit Lily like a wave, and for a moment she could barely breathe. This wasn't just a relationship. It wasn't just love, it was a promise that they would face whatever came their way together. She looked at Ryan, her heart filled with so much love and certainty. "Yes," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "Yes, I want that too. I want to build a future with you, Ryan. I've never been more sure of anything." Ryan's face lit up with a smile so bright, it made Lily's heart flutter. "I'm the luckiest man in the world," he said, his voice filled with joy. The rest of the afternoon felt like a dream, as if the world had faded away and it was just the two of them, with nothing but their love and their shared future ahead. They talked about their plans, their hopes, and what their life together would look like. It wasn't about the grand gestures or the wealth. It was about the little moments, the everyday choices, and the commitment they had made to one another. As they stood up to leave the restaurant, Ryan took Lily's hand, pulling her close. "Let's go home," he said softly, and she smiled, feeling a sense of peace and contentment wash over her. Their home wasn't just a place. It was wherever they were together, wherever their love was. And in that moment, Lily knew that she had found everything she had ever dreamed of. Ryan wasn't just a man of wealth and status. He was the man who had shown her what it meant to truly love and be loved. He had proven that love was about trust, about building a future together, and about standing by each other through thick and thin. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, Lily felt completely at peace with where they were. She knew that no matter what life threw their way, they would face it together, hand in hand, building the life they had always dreamed of. And as they walked out into the world together, their hearts full, they knew that this was only the beginning of a beautiful, lasting love.